see, can I flip this around? Yes. Beautiful day on the beach, and it's time for a nice long walk. We'll see how long my battery lasts. Unfortunately, I don't have a full charge, but we'll see what we get. I'm gonna head a couple miles up and see what we can see along the way. So in my group meeting this morning, the topic came up of family members making comments about this way of eating and expressing concerns, so much so that someone's son convinced them to have bread, of all things, on a camping trip, because he said, you can't possibly do this long term, and what are you going to not eat this for the rest of your life, and this isn't healthy, and blah 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 blah. You know, the naysayers chime in, and that's all our addictive brains need to hear, is somebody trying to convince you. So you got your addiction going, yeah, go ahead, beat her down, come on, get her back in here. And you know, I always say you have to have that vocabulary. You really have to have your response, your reply already set. Thanks so much for your concern, but I feel great. I understand your concern, but I'm feeling better and better every day. Whatever your reply is, rehearse it and get in, because if not, there's going to be opportunities, many opportunities, holidays, family events, social events, that are going to quickly turn into heading right back down into the ditch. So, wow, you got to see this. This is really, look at these waves. So pretty. But yeah, and I keep speaking from my own perspective. My perspective is there's no moderation, or else you think you can moderate it. It's just going to continually be, whoa. The water is so warm. So warm. Love it. Sorry, I had to just had to come in here. Yeah, there's no. I'm telling you from my experience, and that's my personal experience plus a dozen years of coaching people and getting them out of this addiction, this food addiction, carb, sweet, sugar addiction, artificial sweetener addiction. The way out is abstinence. And I hear it so many times over and over. I lost 40 pounds and then the pandemic hit. I lost 80 pounds and I put half of it back on already, falling in the ditch. So, you know, the knowledge is there, the knowledge of what you need to do. The rules are simple, but execution's not easy. I'm going to see if I can pick up some of your questions. Oh my gosh, yes, Joanne, it is an amazing beach day. It's not humid. It's, I don't know, I'm gonna say it's probably about 80, but a beautiful breeze and not humid, so perfect. Yeah, so Leslie's saying, right, our brains are hard enough to overcome. Yeah, it's hard enough dealing with our own addiction and our own dopamine screaming at you to go ahead and have it. It's right there. Go ahead, you know you want it. And having the opportunity, all you need is for the opportunity of privacy, being alone, and having the food. I say get it out of the house. You cannot have that in the house. You just can't have it. Absolutely love and look forward to these live videos. Awesome. I kind of have been quiet for a few days over on Instagram because I'm just dealing a lot with family stuff with my dad not doing well at all, and I've been diligently at work on a web page so that anybody and everyone who wants information to come into a group, I try to so emphasize how important it is to surround yourself with like-minded people. Surround yourself with people who are succeeding with abstinence, and surround yourself with talking about it and listening to others' perspectives on it. And there's just nothing like it for, I think, as humans, we need that connection with people. Wow, look at this. It's so pretty. I've got a lot of big ass seagulls around here. So, the groups make it so that you can ask, I make them small enough you can ask questions every meeting. You interact with the people in the group over in the chat. And in between, I have a private WhatsApp chat group, and every day, 24/7 pretty much, because I have somebody in there from Japan who's 12 hours ahead, people in the UK, people on the West Coast and the East Coast. At any point, you go in there, and I just couldn't resist this wave that came in. You go in there, you can, share pictures of meals, talk about macros, share a great podcast that you might have recently seen and want to share with the group, and just stay in touch and have a connection, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like feeling very isolated in my family situation back when I started this 13 and a half years ago. And it meant so much to me. I had just Charles Washington's little forum. I think maybe there was like 60, 80 of us on there. And it meant everything to me, because especially back then, there was not, this is a huge, in comparison, keto carnivore movement that's going on here that was in its way infancy back then. So, but even now, people at least heard of keto, or they don't look at you like you're bizarre if you order a bunless burger. People are used to people being gluten-free, or somebody might have celiac or IBS, or just doing low carb. But having the connection is just, I feel so fortunate to be able to offer this, and I'm committed to keep doing it, because I see and hear how much it means to people. So so I've been busy working on that to make it easier for people just to get information and not wait for me to reply to an email. And talk about the hours it takes to get the information out when I was doing it manually. So I'm hopefully I've got it down now where it'll be automated, and I'll be able to get all you awesome people who want to come in and be in a group and talk with each other. And you know, every week it's something different, and I don't know, it's amazing. I love the community. I love feeling that this is actually the key for many of the people that have been in my group since last October, some of them. And some just come in and out for a month, and many are just have become a very great tight-knit community that supports each other and holds each other accountable and helps in whatever way of tips and tricks when certain situations come up. And so yeah, I say if any of you are out there struggling, I'll talk to you one-on-one, or the groups that's the really the key. I'm going to say it over and over is, you know, addictions love isolation, and community is the opposite of addiction. And if anybody doesn't think they're addicted to this stuff, just ponder for a moment why you're in the situation you're in, and potentially on a roller coaster back and forth in and out of it over the years. So all right, let me see if I'm going to grab some more comments and questions. Let's see. Let's see. Anna Maria says, hi. Question, could carnivore help someone who is struggling with diverticulitis? Yes, okay. So, and just a quick answer to J.G. Lee. I am in New Jersey, Monmouth Beach. I'm just south of Sandy Hook area, central New Jersey. So, yeah, in answer to, I'm going to give you my answer to this diverticulitis question and broaden it, because this is consistently what happens when I get questions like this, which will then segue into, because I'm an eye doctor, my brother has glaucoma. Can carnivore help that? My mom has bad dry eye. Can carnivore help that? My father has macular degeneration. Can carnivore help that? So if you've listened to my beach talks before, I think I seem like I touch upon this at each talk, because inevitably a question like the diverticulitis one comes up. I am so confident that once you remove the toxins from your mouth, carbs, sugars, grains, processed food, seed oil, and we could go further and say nuts and seeds and plants and fruit, because that's my further personal belief of this animal-based diet, that if someone removed just those first things, it would allow so much healing to happen. Of course, I feel carnivore is the ultimate, the highest level of, of the eating pyramid of where you can get yourself to. But our bodies are remarkable at wanting to thrive and live and survive. You have to think about that. I mean, we're not an organism that's here to just get diseased and die off. I mean, our bodies are so intricate, so fine-tuned to heal. You get a cut, it heals. Get a bacteria, a virus, your body spikes a fever to heat up, to kill it off. It's amazing. And I just, my going back to your diverticulitis question, is the body, every system of the body is going to really, and when, you know, I'm going to say regenerate damaged cells, yes, heal in a remarkable way. Takes time, got to be patient, because most of us have damaged our microbiome, leaky gut. That stuff doesn't just go away overnight. It doesn't go away in a month. You got to remember, there's decades of eating the standard atrocious diet, SAD, the SAD diet. I like to say standard atrocious instead of standard American diet for that. But it's a lot of damage done over a lot of years. But again, given the proper nutrition of fatty meat and eggs, that should really be the mainstay of, in the forefront of your mind, fatty meat and eggs, or fat meat and eggs. And yeah, our bodies are going to reverse the disease processes that happened from the inflammation and the toxins that have been put in for so long. So yes, I have had people write to me of glaucoma reversing, macular degeneration not progressing. There's certain stages of certain diseases that I think if you've had them long enough, it's done enough damage where it's actually scarred the tissue. Yeah, I'm gonna say this isn't a miracle that's gonna, you know, bring everybody to perfect health, because we got a lot of decades of a lot of crap in our food system. So just, I think is just having the optimism that one day at a time, day by day, fatty meat and eggs, and eliminating all that other toxic garbage. It's going to take 8 years for the seed oils to get out, people. I mean, it's a 680-day half-life. You stop eating every speck of restaurant food, fried food, anything that comes in a box, a bag, a bottle, or a jar. You stop every single bit of those toxic, nasty seed oils. 680 days, this is what a half-life means. A half-life of 680 means 680 days from now, half of it will still be in your body. This stuff absorbs into the fat, into the cell wall. Our cells have fat, and every organ system, everything, and it's inflammatory. So think about that. So that's why I say about 8 years to get out, because 680 days, only half of it's out. Another 680, another half of that is out. So that means another quarter goes out, and you get the picture. This isn't like a quick fix scheme of magic, but having the knowledge that this is the ticket, this is the key. It's what we eat. It's not the medications these companies are putting out. They are going after symptoms of a disease and trying to mask the symptom with a drug. And you know, for the most part, for many of these. And you know, I laugh at when I think to myself back when I was a teenager and my mom taking me to the dermatology for some acne. And you know, you get all sorts of creams, cleansers, and you know, gosh forbid they attempt to actually put you on some sort of antibiotic, ruin your gut even further. But you know, literally took me 2 weeks of getting off sugar and flour back when I first initially dabbled into figuring out how to try to get rid of my food addiction. But within 2 weeks, just eliminating flour and sugar. I used to have adult acne on my neck, and I have pictures on my Instagram. If you scroll way down to near the beginning of when I started it a couple of years ago, I have before and after. It's pretty remarkable. And I think if people realize how powerful food actually is, they'd pay attention to it a lot more. So I know that was a real long side tangent on diverticulitis, but yeah, everything, you know, gout. You know, people say, oh, you're not supposed to eat red meat. Well, you know what? Man didn't run around ancestrally hunting, eating fatty. He was not crippled with gout, with his toe and in severe pain, and go on. Dr. Berry's got some great videos on these kind of topics like gout and carnivore. But again, it's not, somebody could have a flare-up. Somebody could turn in on their carnivore mojo and start in on a 30, 60, 90-day challenge and have a flare-up, and they think, oh, well, not for me. Better head back to my pizza and ice cream. But no, it's actually when our bodies are going through all of this adaptation and your body's trying to figure out what the heck is happening. Same thing with a you know, somebody who has gallbladder stones, gallbladder issues, and changes to this higher fat carnivore way of eating. It can start causing contraction, you know, increase from what your normal diet is because it's higher fat now, and cause some discomfort, cause some movement of this sludge, and, you know, issues with that. And it's not this way of eating that's causing that, as far as causing a problem with it. It is activating it to get things moving and changing, and temporarily you might have some sort of, just like how people get some loose stools and or constipation, change in their bowel movements because of this. Yeah, your body needs some time to figure it out. So, all right, let me keep going on. Yeah, it is really stressful to have an ill parent. It's, you know, it's really stressful to, more so for me, as being concerned about my mom, witnessing this and trying to get her to eat healthy, and she's been not eating herself, and it's just, yeah, it's a shit show. What beach are you enjoying? This is Long Branch and Monmouth Beach is where I'm at. I'm walking kind of between the two. I think I'm about a couple miles, a mile and a half in now. All right, let's see. Time Creator says, what if your spouse, mate, isn't carnivore? Maybe a deal breaker, question mark? No, definitely not. Not a deal breaker. My spouse wanted nothing to do with this wacky thing that I took on and felt was necessary for myself. It's not a deal breaker. Does it make it an added, let's say, yeah, it makes it more difficult. Yep, for sure. Oh my gosh, when I have somebody who I'm coaching, or somebody in my group who starts talking about their husband's on board with them, or it was their spouse who got them into it, I'm like, oh man, so awesome, so friggin' awesome. Clean out the fridge, clean out the cupboards. I didn't have that. I had a husband and 2 kids that were all well into, you know, standard fare. So, oh, my watch is asking me if I'm on a walk. Totally not a deal breaker. You are who you are. You are in control of what passes through your lips. I mean, think about that. Nobody else has control of what passes through your lips. who cares what if your spouse, well, I actually have somebody, it's a great guy in the group, and his wife is a vegan, and he's actually very courteous and cooks his meat out in the garage, so all of the meat fumes and smokes don't waft through the whole kitchen and house to potentially offend her. But ultimately, he's not dictating that she only puts veggies in her mouth, and he's not dictating to her that she not eat that way, and just the reverse too. Nobody should be dictating how you choose to nourish your body. What is an issue? What is a potential problem? And it's this. People get comfortable in their habits and comfortable in their patterns. And if you and spouse always have a Friday night date at the local favorite, whatever, Italian place, pizza place, Mexican place, now all of a sudden you're going to disrupt that potentially, because either you want to get settled into doing this and don't want to eat out at first, or you can always pretty much make do. I mean, I've done it where if my kids were little and we were at the end of a soccer game, and the whole group of the kids and parents were going out to a local pizza place. We're all hungry, and literally it was a pizza pie place, but they had an antipasto with rolled up whatever, prosciutto, salami, and provolone on it. So I'd get the antipasto and I'd eat the meat and cheese off it. There's always a workaround. Or just say, I had a big lunch, I'm really not hungry, and you just enjoy the company and the talk, and you don't have to be putting pizza in your mouth, and you go home and then you eat. There's workarounds, but yeah, it's definitely not a deal breaker. I don't want anybody to think that, but I mean, realistically, if you have researched and have come to the conclusion, let's say a temporary thought, that wow, there must be something to this. It seems very powerful. I'm hearing so many testimonies and anecdotal things about people healing themselves and getting off meds and losing weight. I want to give this a try. I mean, there is no way that you should feel that just because your spouse isn't on board and thinks you're God batshit crazy that you shouldn't do it. You know what? We got one trip around the friggin' block. One. We got one shot at this. So, if that spouse, and the same thing, like, we used to always go and get ice cream after we went here, or, well, you know what? You do something different. You take up geocaching. Geocaching is just friggin' awesome. It's like a treasure hunt game, and it brings you to some really beautiful places out in nature, and you download the free app, you click on it, and you see within a very close distance of where you're standing these hidden little either tiny micro or larger containers, and there's a little sign-in book, and you have to find it. The GPS leads you toward it, and then it's fun. And so you take up a different kind of thing to do together instead of going out and eat ice cream. I mean, you got to think this out. I mean, you can't change something as important as what you're discovering here and not do it because your spouse isn't on board. I keep saying that and I take this and give credit to this term from Christy Nichols, Code Red. She has a group that she runs, but she says you got to have the why that makes you cry to come to this, because nobody's just coming and saying, you know what, I think I'll just go eat some fatty meat and eggs, get on with life. It sounds like fun. Nobody's doing that. Come on, guys. So if you have your why that makes you cry, let's say you just really want a long, healthy life, and you want to, whatever it is, finally lose weight, keep it off. You want to be rid of the binging, the nighttime snacking, and getting up and eating a damn bag of potato chips, or thinking you're only going to have half the container of ice cream and you get up and you have the other one, the other half too, or you know, just a miserable life. It causes inflammation, it causes disease, and it, you know, a lot of people, you know, I say, think about it. You want to watch your kids get married and have kids, and you want to be able to get down on the ground and play with your grandkids and jump up and get on a bike with them. I mean, this is what life is about, is living. It's not meant for this slow, gradual deterioration that is so common now. It's so common that I have to say, when I am seeing patients, I'm doing their eye exam, we're talking, I go through their, you know, prior history and their current situation of health and meds, and they're like, oh, don't get old. Everything was fine, and then boy, when I turned whatever, X, so variable, 60, 65, 70, it's always right around there, was when everything starts going. Don't get old. I'm like, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how many years you've been pounding in the crap that's finally caught up, and the inflammation's causing your body to totally, really revolt. Say, you know what, here you go. This is what you get handed for eating that shit for so long. So, yeah, I think really you have to think long and hard that your spouse might not have their why that makes them cry. They might not be motivated, or they're motivated. This is an interesting scenario. They're motivated and they're curious, but they think you're total whack because they've never thought or heard that this could possibly be healthy. So then you do it, and you keep up with it, and you keep feeling better month by month. And said spouse, when you happen to be maybe in a controlled environment like a long car drive, you happen to throw on a podcast or a little YouTube video plays that you've picked out about certain aspects of this, and you know, and I have a couple people in my coaching groups where, oh my gosh, I just heard of this one floored me, because, okay, let me back up. There's been people in the group where their situation was that they found this, came about it, they're all in, they so badly wanted their spouse, because of knowing there was health issues there, but not significant, so the spouse wasn't jumping on board, and it basically happened to be during the pandemic, kept putting on various YouTube videos and gave them a 30-day challenge after, you know, watching a number of doctors and scientists. You know, you start hearing enough with Dr. Berry, Dr. Chafee, Dr. Wiedemann, and you hear enough of us medical professionals talking about this, and Dr. Baker. It leads to having a bit of credibility as to that this thing is not just some freak cabbage soup diet. And then, yeah, then it's maybe worth a shot. And then that said spouse has not looked back. And they are a happy carnivorous couple in the most amazing way. And that's obviously ideal. I have another one. This was a recent woman who, I couldn't believe this, but I guess it was that dire, where she absolutely needed to do this. She saw in her spouse an equivalent need for health issues, and she thought to herself, she said, damn it, I'm not going to be, you know, watching you deteriorate, me start wanting to go bike and hike and climb mountains and have to take care of your sorry ass that is going to continue to debilitate. So she literally gave him an ultimatum. You do 30 days or I'm out. Now, wow, I don't know how many people could actually be in that position, and who knows what else was the scenario there, but literally gave the ultimatum. And fortunately, came out just like the other one. Did it, felt amazing, dropped weight, and yeah, not turning back. There's no turning back once you realize how good you can feel and what this has the potential to do. And like I say, man, you're fortunate, because sometimes people don't get such a great response in just 30 days, because sometimes that's full of keto adaptation, GI issues, bowel issues, energy issues. Some people get little heart palpitations and all sorts of like different stuff that they could very, very quickly say, nope, this is not for me. And it's those people that really need most to persevere to get through that and then see the light. That's why I usually, my thing is like, man, you know what? It's a 90-day trial. None of this 30-day stuff. Nobody wants to have to think about doing something for 90 days, I guess, but man, 90 days is, that's where I think people need to be at for, if you're serious about giving this an attempt to see what it does for you. So, let's see. Hi, Annette. Dirk, I love your comment. Dirk says he loves my office. It's a pretty nice office, isn't it? And I can work from many, many different places in the world. Bali, that's on my bucket list. Bali, Tahiti. Can you imagine if I started doing like a series of live on the beach around the world with Carnivore Doctor, and just went from beach to beach. That'd be pretty awesome. But yeah, Dirk, I love your comment. Okay, Lynn says, I'm on carnivore and drinking coffee. Coffee has oils, just wondering if this is bad. Okay, so, you know, there's so much information out there about coffee, and there's conflicting information about coffee, and there's people who hold on so tightly to that addiction that you can't even speak anything about coffee. I'm fine with it. It doesn't affect me. Oh, I gave it up for 30 days and I didn't notice any difference and blah, 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 blah. I'll just give you my little coffee rhetoric, which is I used to drink daily coffee, you know, through college, grad school, the typical, you know, you drink coffee to wake you up and boost your focus, blah, 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 right? So I was on the coffee train. I was on the bean. And once I finally, through 30 years of suffering and this is not going to be good when I turn back the other direction. You know why? The wind is so much in my face now. When I turn around, it's going to be woo, wild hair, wild woman. I am going to start heading back though. We'll see how this goes. I could do backward walking too. I like that. So yeah, so I struggled so hard, so long with my addiction in such a severe way that once I finally, at the age of 44, I mean, I'm going to say from about 40 to 44, I was on the definite path to figuring it out by doing the paleo, and I never did keto because I don't know, keto wasn't really like a big thing, but low carb paleo, I guess, you know, I don't, then once I found this whole zeroing in on health group and realized at that point a major turning point in my life when I had enough knowledge and understanding after reading Fat of the Land by Stephenson and Not by Bread Alone and And I was all in, and I was like, oh my God, I wanted to shout it from the rooftops. And I got to this really comfortable place where I was like, wow, how amazing to not be addicted to sugar and the taste of sweet and the cravings and the misery that goes along with it and the mental fog and all of that. So a couple of years into that, I was like, you know, I don't want to be addicted to anything. This is like this cloud that's doing this, and I'm thinking it's a hair up here in the reflection. Like alfalfa. Here, let me, there. So I didn't want to be addicted to anything. And there's cross addiction. I didn't cross addict onto it. I was already addicted to caffeine, but I decided I wanted off the caffeine train. And, reading enough where it's like, yeah, I mean, it's a drug, and you're going through withdrawal when you wake up and you're sluggish and you gotta get my coffee. It's because your body is experiencing withdrawal from the drug, and you got to put the drug back in so that you don't get the headache, so that you can then get pepped up again. And I was like, yeah, I don't ever want to be on vacation, and it's just crazy to me to think that people do this. It's like, all right, is there a coffee maker in the room? Is there coffee in the lobby? Where's the closest Starbucks? Where am I getting my coffee? And that's how it's been when I've traveled with some people, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty powerful stuff, and I want no part of it. I'm out. So 10 years ago, yeah, I dropped the caffeine, and I feel awesome. I have decaf every once in a while when I'm in a situation where having dessert with a group of people out to eat, they're all passing around the desserts. I have my nice little decaf cappuccino as a nice little treat, and I'm there socially and having fun with everybody. But yeah, I'm off of the caffeine. There's books you can read about it, about how coffee is like the number one drug and the deleterious effects of it. It is a plant. It is a bean. And think about, you are passing boiling water over a burnt bean is basically the scenario of coffee. So is there potentially toxic effects? For sure. I mean, you can read the studies on your cortisol and your sleep, and you can go down that whole rabbit hole on your own. You don't need me to go blah 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 about coffee. I'm not, and you know what, I am fine if I say to people, if you're where you want to be health-wise and coffee is included in that, then go for it. I use the famous example of Kelly Hogan. She's in great health, in great shape. She's not on any drugs. She doesn't have any diagnosis. She's at her ideal lean body weight, and she enjoys coffee. All right. I'm not, and I just say for many people, especially people that I coach, coffee ends up being a vehicle for heavy cream. It ends up being a vehicle for stevia or monk fruit or some sort of artificial sweetener or creamer, flavored creamer. And it is then the gateway drug to keep you hooked into, the cravings. And then next thing you know, the person tells me, oh yeah, I use electrolytes. I need electrolytes every day. Oh, really? All right. What are these electrolytes, these said electrolytes? Oh, my favorite is the mixed berry by LMNT, or, oh, I like the pina colada. It's like, yeah, it's got stevia. No, I need my electrolytes, don't I? I always hear about getting my electrolytes. No, you know what? I haven't taken a single dose of electrolytes in my 13 and a half years of being carnivore. I mean, I've been sent free samples of it, and I poured an unflavored one into my bottle of water to try it, and I'm personally repulsed by. I can't stand the taste. It tastes like dishwater to me once you put magnesium, potassium, and sodium into my water. I just want pure water. But aside from that, you know, maybe there's a specific situation where somebody who's hiking in the heat and gets a lot of leg cramps might want to dabble in. Oh, check this out. This is so cute. This little boy is chasing this bird. So, where was I at with that? Oh, the coffee. Yeah, so, you know, do your own thing with the coffee. You're gonna figure out your path with it. Oh, it's so good. You're gonna figure it out. You don't need me to be the nagging mom on telling you to give something up, because ideally I feel like it would be optimal. Because like I'm not dogmatic about it. I myself, and then somebody will fault me. Well, decaf is even worse than caffeinated because it goes through that whole chemical process to decaffeinate it and da da da. Yeah. All right. Well, I try to get organic, fair trade, decaf, instant, and I have it. Yeah, maybe once or twice a week. I have a decaf, no sweetener. Sometimes I'll put a egg yolk in there. I've dabbled with putting in MCT oil, just playing around with macros and ketones lately, just to see if I can do whatever I can do to experiment for both myself and people I coach on, see what will get that stubborn weight to budge. And the bottom line with a lot of it is the body's got to heal enough to be able to release the fat and trust what's happening with how you're now feeding it, and so many different complicating factors with hormones and stress. And so where was I with that? I think that all just started from that coffee question, right? Yeah, so yeah, I do have a decaf every once in a while, but again, for me it was all about getting off the caffeine train and getting off the bean. Okay, so Kathy says she needs off the bean. I laugh at the term bean because we've had people in my groups, and many of them are there month to month, and it's so awesome because we really get to know each other and know our journeys and paths. And we've had people who've done a 30-day caffeine-free or coffee-free challenge, or a 30-day dairy-free challenge, and people join in with them and they check in and we talk about it at the meetings. And it's interesting because some have stopped coffee for, let's say, 60 days, and then we start talking about it. Now we're into a new month, and then all of a sudden there's a drink in the Zoom video, and I go, oh, you back on the bean? Back on the bean. So that's our term, back on the bean. No, don't say burnt bean. I know. Roasted, heavily roasted, intensely roasted. How's that? Dark roasted. Most people don't know coffee has fiber residues that accumulate in the large intestine. Yeah, you know what? There's books. I forget the name of that main book that is written. And then it's so interesting because there's people that will not at all talk negatively or bad about coffee, but part of it is because, you know, they might be affiliate or sponsor, you know, Bulletproof Coffee. You know, everybody knows, oh, that's a way of getting your fats in the morning. And yeah, coffee clubs and a lot of people, I have to say, a lot of people actually use the coffee, which this is the one thing I would say, that if I'm going to say one thing about coffee, other than what I've already said for the past 15 minutes, if I were to say something, just say something more about coffee, is that I actually really would prefer that somebody not use it as their morning, because somebody said, oh, I don't get hungry until 11 or 12. I don't eat my first meal, because I was trying to shift somebody's eating window earlier, because I prefer that some people give a try to ending food at, depending on how your schedule is, but 4 or 5, you know, in the evening as your final food. And they're like, oh, well, I don't get hungry until 12 or 1. And then so I'm not hungry that early for dinner. And I was like, really? 12 or 1? I was like, I usually get a hunger pang somewhere around, I don't know, 10, 11. I was like, are you doing coffee as your first meal? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, I have coffee with my cream and my collagen and my MCT powder. And yeah, I like, people think that having that as a quote unquote kind of like meal replacement, like, well, I don't eat breakfast then. Well, so I try to have people do a little reversal. I said, you can still have your morning coffee, except you're going to have it after your first hunger pang comes and you make your first small meal, and then you can have coffee, your drink, along with it or after it. And but so yeah, that's my one more kind of thing I'll say about coffee. Let me go back to I stopped drinking caffeine 6 days ago. All right, Philip. And didn't get withdrawals or headaches. Wow. I wonder, I mean, were you just a half a cup in the morning kind of guy? I mean, what's the deal here? What's the secret? Anybody who's been on it where you have 2 to 3 cups somewhere during the day, whether it's 2 in the morning and then 1 after lunch or whatever it is, that's a typical pattern. But that person is typically having problems with a little bit of withdrawal. And I tell people, you can try the half calf for a week and then go, fully off. That's sometimes a let's say more calm way to pull the Band-Aid off. Let's see. All right, so yeah, Kathy, you said you need off the caffeine next. Well, I mean, if the most important is off everything else, the sugar, carbs, grains, nuts, seeds, plants, and then the sweeteners for sure. And then if you want to pull the rug out on the bean, I would say that would be a good thing to try. Let's see, almost out of coffee, then I'm done. All right, Rainey, one more day maybe. Oh, so you've only got enough grinds for one more day. Oh, gonna have a little funeral for your friend, Rainey. Funeral for your friend. Put on Elton John. In all seriousness, I'm learning so much here. Awesome, D. Philip says, how did you find out about the carnivore diet? Yeah, so I was just so fortunate. I mean, I searched so long. I mean, I had a 30-year misery of binge eating, sugar, carb, food addiction, eating disorders, horrible, 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 in a very deep, bad way, and just kept seeking I was doing, all sorts of attempts at anything and everything, and nothing worked. I even went to an OA meeting. They have these gray sheets, and I was like, I don't fit in here. I did some online, virtual meeting things. Nothing was really resolving how strong the addiction was for me to just get in my car and go buy it and eat it in secret. And if any of you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. And so I just kept persistently, thank God for the internet, because back when I was, the internet came about, I guess when I was, how old was I? 29. So I think right around there, 28, 29, when I forget now. But yeah, I just kept searching and searching. And I remember it's probably about 10, 11 o'clock at night on March 8th, 2009, and somehow through my internet surfing, I was, I forget what search words I put in, but thank God for the algorithm that popped up, that zeroing in on health forum, and I just kind of started reading a couple of these journals. The people, it was an interesting forum because this is way before Facebook. It was people writing their experiences, and it was this small group of people that had gotten kicked off of, I believe it was Jimmy Moore's Living La Low Carb Vita Life, or I don't know. I was never really on his website, but I knew he had a very big, prominent low carb website, and it was a group of people, Charles Washington, Dana, my friend Suzanne, who I became friends with, they got kicked off because this thread that they had on there that was basically, I guess they called it zero carb. They had a little thread going in the part of his website, and I guess it got too big for his britches, and he kicked them out. And so Charles made his own forum, and that's what I happened upon, and I am so grateful for it, and so grateful for Charles Washington for having created that and believing so much in this and getting the word out, and for a couple women in there. I mean, everybody was in there just typical like it is now. Somebody comes at this from diabetes, somebody with severe arthritis, somebody with depression, somebody with bipolar, and all different ways and reasons that people hear that this can resolve, and they're in there and they're journaling. And two of these women were in particular very specifically speaking about how it totally relieved themselves of their eating disorder and their food addiction, and I was all in. I read until 1 in the morning on March 9th, and that's what I call my first day of freedom. So that's how I found it, and I just was in there reading others' journals and writing of my own experiences, and then next thing you know, I think it was, was it March, April, May? I think that September, we had a meetup, like Charles, I forget, he ran a bunch of half marathons, and he was gonna, I think in Philadelphia, I think was the first meetup, and got in my car and drove over an hour to, in my mind, thinking, I can't even tell my husband, like, what am I doing? I'm like going to meet internet people. But I knew in the most absolute 1000% way that these were good people, these were real people, and these were my people. And I couldn't wait to eat meat with them. And so empowering and so awesome. And it just continued to propel me to want to do these meetups, and I love hosting them. I love seeing the excitement of these people who, after the 3-hour dinner, don't want to leave, and it ends up 5 or 6 hours. And we close the place down, and people who are there are exchanging information, and they're staying in touch, and they're creating their own get-togethers. And yeah, it's just awesome. So that's a very long-winded answer to how I found carnivore, but I always say now, for me, if I can just help one person out of the misery that I've lived, that I will be so gratified. And I've done it hundreds of times over now. I'm just, this is my passion. I see what happens. I see how it can change lives, and I want to be the person to help guide somebody who's so sort of lost in how to do this, and so by themselves, because nobody around them is doing it. And not only is that the situation, but people around them are sabotaging them and trying to tell them that they're crazy. And so yeah, I'm the I have my hand extended out to anybody who wants to reach out, and I'm so, you can tell from my, I get choked up talking about this stuff because I feel that strongly about how I use the word magical. I hate to use the word magical. There's nothing magic about finally figuring out that we need to feed our bodies the normal ancestral diet that we've been intended to eat all this time, and we've just been pushed upon to have this low-fat, plant-based, meatless Monday shit show that's going on. And oh wait, butter? Oh no, butter will clog your arteries, right? You got to have margarine and Crisco, and yeah, it's just been a very, very interesting to be in this place where, you read Nina Teicholz's books and Gary Taubes, and there's so much great information out about all this now. So awesome. So awesome. Here, I'll flip this around. Yeah, so that was a rather long-winded answer. Sometimes I'm like, oh God, these people are just saying, cut it there, lady, we get it. You found it just had to say you found it on the internet. How's that? I found it on the internet. I was lucky. Maybe I'll walk backward. I like backward walking. As long as I'm not going to walk onto any small children. All right. Back in the 60s, Americans used to have bodies like yours. Thank you, JG. Yeah, you know what? There's been people who now are posting on, I always say Instagram because I'm over there, bing, scrolling through my Instagram feed. And I love when I do see that. There's a guy, Mr. Carnivore Now, and I know he's posted something like pictures from even like the 1940s, 1950s, even I'm going to guess the 1960s, a beach of people, and man, just healthy looking people hanging out. And yeah, it was about 1910 that that toxic sludge came into the food system, and it's just, and then the food pyramid that happened, I guess, in I think the late 60s was the start of government butting its nose into, but then of course it's all money driven, and the subsidies for the corn and subsidies for sugar, and then it's the old who's paying who off to hide the studies that say sugar is very detrimental to the heart. Oh, no, can't have that happening. We're going to have to put the blame on fat, put the blame on meat, because the elite and the masters, they're the ones that want to eat the meat. They want the masses to eat the mush, so they have more control. And we won't get into all those conspiracy theory things. It's all very interesting, though, how Gates has bought up all the farmland now, and he's the largest landowner, and all this really kind of scary stuff that we really need to pay attention to. That's why I'm stocking up on carnivore bars and Spam. That's going to be my going forward survival logo. All right, I'm getting some more glare here. These sunglasses are helping, but not great. Oh, hi, Brant. Brant from KC. Were you overweight when you started carnivore? Okay, so yeah, here's my scenario. My parents are obese and diabetic. My brother is obese and diabetic. I was fat as a kid. I wore the, if anybody back, Sears and Roebuck had the Husky. It was the Husky size. They had regular, they had slim, and they had Husky. I wore the Husky, all right? That was, you know, starting back in whatever, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, 6th grade. And no, I did not get obese. You know, I was not a waddling kid. I was chunky, was definitely overweight. I had a belly. If I was back in my condo on my laptop doing this, I could try to share screen and show you a picture of me in my dance recital leotard with my, what I call my beer belly, hanging out. And I think I was all of, I don't know, probably 8, 9 years old. But you know, we had Entenmann's in the house, Friendly's ice cream. I just knew I had an issue though back probably pretty young. I mean, I didn't really at all realize it. I just know, thinking back now, that my mom made my favorite either mac and cheese, homemade mac and cheese with diced ham in it, or lasagna. There was no way I was having just one helping. Never, ever. And for, you know, a little 4-foot tall kid, you don't need 2 helpings of lasagna or mac and cheese. And then, of course, you know, keep dipping into the cookies and whatnot that was there. So yeah, I had a problem, Brant, from way back then, and it just progressed to be really bad because it progressed, as most addictions do. And I resolved that because, as far as not wanting to be obese, I got into gymnastics, and then that's when the eating disorder started. And I had a very temporary, very short dip into an anorexic kind of short period of time. I loved food too much for that to work, but then that's what segued me into being bulimic. And it was the most horrible black hole I could ever describe that I was in. And but so getting back to Brant, what I think what most people want to, well, not want to see, but are looking to see, is my big, you know, before and after transformation pictures like Laura Spath has and Kelly Hogan has. Well, I would be exactly like that had I not been bulimic. So I controlled my obesity, but was not able to control my binging, and it was horrible. So yeah, I have some pictures of me rather chunky, but all right, my phone is telling me I am running out of battery here. I've been talking way too long, it says, but let me just see if I can grab a couple other things here. Yeah, it's not conspiracy, it's the truth. I agree, AG. I find the social aspect the hardest. So good to hear you talking sense and sharing. Yeah, Dirk, you know, here's the thing. I try to tell people at the beginning, it's really kind of odd because near the beginning, when there is that excitement of having positive changes, dropping some weight, feeling good, having some aches go away, and then you get excited when you are then in your next social gathering and somebody says, hey, you're looking great, what are you doing? And you just can't bite your tongue, you know, you just want to talk about it and say it. And then it always leads into like, oh God, you're doing that? Is that Atkins? Is that Atkins thing? Didn't that guy die young? No, he slipped on the ice and hit his head. Okay, well, there's that. But, oh yeah, no, my doctor would never let me do that. My cholesterol's already high and I'm already on statins. Oh, I could never do that. And then meanwhile, I want to then scream out, yeah, you got it all wrong, buddy. Your cholesterol and triglycerides are all fucked up because you've been eating all this shit that you're still eating here right now that I'm not eating. Therein lies the problem, where I say, even though you're so excited to talk about it, the best advice, don't talk about it. Nobody really cares or pays attention to what you eat if you don't bring attention to it. They don't. They really don't. So, so that's the best advice, because if not, then you're barraged and not prepared to be barraged with the naysaying. I, 13 years in and a medical physician, am prepared to be barraged, and I kind of like to get a little spunky and feisty with people and blunt and show my little, what the, I guess the Yiddish call chutzpah. Like, I don't know, I enjoy it because I can now. But basically is you're gonna get the whoa, what do you mean you don't eat vegetables and fruit? Everybody knows you need that to be healthy. How do you possibly think you're getting your vitamins and nutrients from blah, 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 blah? Whoa, what do you mean you're eating, 6 eggs and a half a pound of bacon and ribeyes? What do you mean? That's crazy talk. I could never do that. Never do that. My cardiologist would have a coronary if I did that. Blah, 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 right? And that's all you keep hearing. And so, so the best thing is attempt, if you can, to bite your tongue, because like I said, just the opposite is what you want to do, is because you want to have, especially if you're around people who you really care about and love, you want the best for them. So that therein lies the problem, is because you then want to impart on them. But you know what? Nobody cares. Nobody's coming. Nobody's listening. Nobody cares. Because they got to have their why that makes them cry. They have to be the one. And I say, you can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him carnivore. I like that little saying I made up. But it's very true. And so, yeah, it's better just to not say anything, because number one, you don't need to have anybody putting any further doubts in your mind than what you get by just listening to the conflicting noise of what you're researching as it is on this, and then, have somebody else chime in about it. But, I say some simple things, because some people might actually say, hey, I see you're not eating your baked potato, or whatever, or I just order, I say just bring meat on the plate. I don't even care anymore. I don't care what people think. I don't give a shit. I don't. I am so confident that what I'm doing is the most optimal way that I can possibly, meal by meal, nourish myself, lead myself to a healthy future with hopefully no cancer, no dementia, no arthritis, no diabetes, no hypertension, no standing in line at the pharmacy, no going to the doctor, none of that. I'm so confident. And I you could say, somebody else might have the last laugh. You sound so cocky, but whatever. You know what? I've lived it for 13 and a half years. I feel phenomenal. I mean, I always say when I'm on these walks, I'm famous for doing cartwheels on the beach. If you're new to my channel, well, I do them over on Instagram. Every beach that I go to, like when I'm down in Florida or when I'm up here, Jersey in the summer, there's always cartwheels on the beach posts. So, I don't know how I got on the cartwheel thing. Yeah, I just feel, because I feel amazing. At 57, I can wear a bikini and do cartwheels on the beach. I could sprint down the beach. I could run 5 miles down the beach. And, just because my body is not fed toxic shit for the past 13 years. Yeah, I abused it for the first 40 years, but there's that. And I just have to hope that there's been enough time and now repaired and hopefully going to live a great, healthy, disease-free life. But when you're I'm at the advantage when I get people coming at me, well, I just call them naysayers, co-workers, friends, family, who want to insist that this is not healthy. I am at a bit of an advantage to any of you because I've been doing this 13 and a half years. I look the way I look, and I'm a medical professional, so there's that combination of things that puts me in a position to not give a shit what anybody says and be able to go back at them and say, you know what, I feel amazing. How's your diet working for you? And the majority of the time, it's somebody who is 20 to 50 pounds overweight and on medication. So, you know, oh, well, you know, I have a family history of both my parents have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. And, well, you know what? That's because both your parents eat the same shit. All right? So let's not blame genetics when, you know, there might be some genetic components to some diseases. I'm not going to discount that, but it's your diet that pulls the trigger. You know, the propensity for it might be there, but I am a believer, in my opinion. Of course, you know, none of this is medical advice. Let's throw that little legal disclaimer out as I go back to my condo to try to seek out errors and omissions liability insurance. Yeah, but so yeah, I feel like my best advice is, as best you can, don't say anything. And when you're pulled into a conversation, thanks so much for your concern, but man, do I feel great. I feel better and better every day. I appreciate your concern. I can see why you're concerned, because I actually had those same concerns way back when I first started looking into this, but I feel amazing. And I can name 4 cardiologists right now who eat this way, and I'm sure they're not taking their cardiac health lightly. You know, I have a whole slew of stuff that I have up my sleeve to say that that helps, but the main thing that helps is I just don't give a shit what anybody thinks or says, because I wouldn't change what I'm doing, you know, ever. This is called #carnivore for life. So let me see if I can pull up 1 or 2 more. Like I said, I am going to my note to self, fully charged phone before coming out on the beach, because I would love to just keep blabbing on, but gosh, I'm already over an hour. So curious if supplements are needed. I take vitamins and supplements and was thinking about stopping. All right, Londa Staggs, listen carefully. Every vitamin, mineral, and nutrient you need is in fatty meat and eggs. Every single one. And go down the rabbit hole and do some information about how synthetic vitamins, these companies that are compacting these special little nutrients that we are so ingrained to think we need to take our multivitamin every day for any deficiencies in our diet, that there's actually not much bioavailable, or I'll say not much bioavailability in said nutrients, vitamins, minerals that we are wasting our money on and pissing out in the pot. But I guess that's all I got to say about that. My opinion is I wouldn't spend a penny on that. And actually, if you go to a website, it's an awesome website by ophthalmologist Chris Knobbe, and it's called Cure, C-U-R-E, cureamd.org. And he's dedicated years of research into this whole macular degeneration thing. And if you scroll down to near the bottom part of that website, he's got an awesome explanation and write-up on his opinion on synthetic vitamins, and that people who take synthetic vitamins actually have a earlier age of death. I mean, there's actually studies that show that, and he's got some really interesting data and supported by some interesting studies that further confirm for me my decision that I literally that might be the person's first thing that they do. They go, all right, I'll try carnivore, but oh my gosh, where's my, I got to get this multivitamin going every day, because certainly when I eliminate fruits and vegetables, I'm going to be missing a whole spectrum of I got to head in, because if this battery dies, guess what? I don't think I get to save this on YouTube for somebody else to watch. So, but yeah, so I'm going to end it with that vitamin discussion, and I will put in the notes that website link. So, and I'm going to write in it, info on macular degeneration and synthetic vitamins. So, and I'm going to tell you this, I'm going to be doing a YouTube video as a follow-up, and oh my gosh, I know I'm so delayed in doing this. So many people have been writing, but I did that Spurdy vitamin D lamp because I wanted these UVB bulbs to be able to boost my vitamin D, because I live in New Jersey and I'm above the 37th latitude, and I can't create my own vitamin D past like October. And I did this experiment where I purchased myself this Spurdy lamp, and I had my vitamin D tested. I went 2 straight months, no supplements, no sunshine, because it was November, and it was December and January here in New Jersey. And then I retested my vitamin D, and so I'm going to do the follow-up video, and I'll give you the punchline. Is I went up more than 20 points from that vitamin D lamp. Only 5 minutes every other day. I mean, it's so minimal. It is expensive, but it lasts like 15,000 hours, these bulbs. So it's like ridiculous amount of like 10 years it's gonna, and you can get replacement bulbs, but I'm not worried about all that. So we'll get sprayed off. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining. I am always so happy to have somebody on my walk with me on the beach. I got to tell you, and I think these people are starting to get to know me. They're probably like, there's the lady with the selfie stick. Wonder what the hell she thinks is happening here. Thanks for coming on. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, forward to your friends. You know, the whole YouTuber shtick. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm just here eating meat, spreading the good word. So thanks, guys.